How's it going, everybody? My name is Jack of all trades, and you can see some visual effects in the background. And yesterday I made a video about the Steam machines and why I think they will fail. And I got two responses. One even from the developer of the Alienware Alpha Steam machine. So I thought I should make a follow-up video where I look at the comments and basically correct and add information I didn't cover about the Steam machines. And at the end of the video I'll tell you if my opinion has changed about the Steam machines. So let's take a look at the first comment placed by a user by the name of THNDR. I suppose it's pronounced Thunder. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry about that. But this is what he wrote. Console people didn't know specs because there was only one model per generation. This is a limiting factor as they upgrade and then lock you out of the previous generation. SteamOS and the machine line to make a PC take the place of the console, including the community and usefulness divide on generation changes. Then he resumes with, a normal build your own PC for $400 won't run Watch Dogs unless you get a good deal. Then it probably run it, but probably like crap. The Steam machine will introduce console gamers to specs. Many console gamers argue specs all the time, saying that the Xbox is cheaper and more powerful than a normal PC, so this won't be a hard thing for them. Well, I don't completely agree with that, but I'll come back to that later. Steam machines are like models of PC you took from distributors. You can always build your own, but many people just buy one because it's promised to work and removes the hassle. Plus warranties are really nice. Steam machine lines would set standard for PC developers to target based on reported market share of the hardware specifications and sales. They tend to do that now anyway, but it gives them a benchmark the consumers can easily buy. Before listing specs, it could say requirement specs similar to Steam machine model here. Because it's literally a computer, it supports all inputs the OS has drivers for. SteamOS is Linux. You can install any PC OS on it because they are literally small PCs. There's plenty of information on this and you can download SteamOS now no problem and see videos on YouTube about it. So yeah, let's break down the comment and see what I think about it. So first he talks about the fact that console gamers didn't need to know specs because there's only one model per generation, which is true. And later he mentions that Steam machines will introduce console games to specs, and I don't really agree on that. As I said before, it's way cheaper and easier to buy a PS4 and Xbox One. And if you want to invest in a Steam machine, you must understand first of all that a Steam machine is quite a huge investment, just like a PS4 or Xbox One is. And there aren't that many people around who would invest in something they don't completely understand. And specs aren't something you can just learn overnight. I have had a gaming PC for about 8 years now, and I don't understand everything. For example, GTA 5 requires a Core 2 Quad GPU running at 2.4 GHz, but a friend of mine could play it on a 3 GHz i3 processor, which I didn't even know was possible because an i3 is a dual-core processor. He also says that console gamers talk about specs all the time because they say Xbox is more powerful than a normal PC and less expensive. But that's like saying a Ferrari is faster than a Fiat. You don't need to be an expert on this subject to know that. And yes, console gamers do often talk about specs, but that doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Let's take for example the console wars between Nintendo and the Sega Genesis.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
After this commercial, all Sega fanboys were like, well, Nintendo sucks because we have twice the amount of bits that Nintendo has, even if nobody even knew what a bit was. But then Nintendo came with their 16-bit console. And this is basically Sega's response to that.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
So yeah, now all the Sega fanboys were like, damn, Nintendo sucks, because we have blast processing, and Nintendo doesn't. Even though nobody even knew what blast processing was, and even still to this day, there's still discussions going on whether blast processing is actually a real thing. There are plenty of people who say blast processing is just pure bullshit, and other people say, well, blast processing was a thing, but it's just blown out of proportion. So console gamers in fact do discuss specs. But that doesn't mean they know what they're talking about, because none of them actually knew what a bit was, and nobody knew what blast processing actually was. Next he says that a $400 build your own PC won't run Watch Dogs as well, but you completely missed the point here. The point I was trying to make is that why would a console gamer choose for a $450 console that can't even run everything, while a $350 console can? The answer is, he probably won't. Next thing he says is that Steam machines are basically like pre-built PCs you buy from distributors. And later on in the reaction he mentions that it does support operating systems like normal PC, like Windows 8 and 10 and stuff like that. And it does take mouse and keyboard inputs. I assume that's true because the Alienware Alpha developer also mentioned it in his comment. So I have to agree with him on this one, but that leaves me with one question. Are other pre-built PCs just as expensive as Steam machines? And I have to say that Steam machines hold up pretty well in comparison to other pre-built systems. So if you want a pre-built PC, a Steam machine is a viable option. The last topic I want to talk about this person mentioned in his comment is that PC games could also list the Steam machines that can run this game and not just the specs. If they would do that, it would certainly help with all the confusion console gamers would have when it comes to specs, but that still doesn't fix the problem that the cheapest Steam machine is still not powerful enough to run everything the PS4 and Xbox One can run. Certainly the console gamers who have more money could invest in more expensive Steam machines that can run everything, but your average console gamer, I think they will still stick to the Xbox One and PS4 because they are way cheaper. So let's move on to the next comment. Hey, to clarify some points, 1. Video specs / CPU details. There's a link here to the system requirements from Watch Dogs. I've actually compared it to the Steam page and it's pretty much the same, so I don't know why he would list that, but okay. And then he lists the specs from the Alienware Alpha, and I want to thank you for that, sir. Because that's actually quite helpful. I'll comment on that later. And then he says, yes, you might require 8 GB of RAM to play some of the more demanding games, but most games will run just fine under the 860M plus GPU. We did a gameplay video of it using the i7 model, but the comparison video using the first model was made by GameSpot, and then he posted a link to a video where the Alienware Alpha is being compared to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I'll also comment on that later. Check out our gameplay videos here, so you can follow this link to check the gameplay videos from the other consoles as well. I'll put all these links in the description if you want to check them out. I'm not going to cover everything in this video. 2. Controller support. You can use from Xbox controllers to PC peripherals like mouse and keyboard, which I also prefer. The Steam controller will also have support, of course. And then 3. OS. You can use a mixture of Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Alpha user interface, Windows 10 plus Alpha user interface, SteamOS, and even change between Windows 10 and SteamOS, which is also pretty awesome. We'll have some more updates very soon, so stay tuned. Frank. So now we know the specs of the Alienware Alpha. Let's stick to our previous example from Watch Dogs and see how well it holds up. So according to a benchmark I looked up on the CPU in the Alienware Alpha is more than powerful enough to run Watch Dogs. And the GPU is also more than powerful enough. But that still doesn't fix the problem that it only ships with 4 GB of RAM. But it's upgradable. I looked it up and you can actually upgrade it for about $60. So for $510 you have a system that runs games pretty well. So if you're looking for a budget gaming PC and you know how to replace RAM, the Alienware Alpha is a viable choice. I'd say yeah, you could get it. But I don't see a console gamer replace the memory in their PC anytime soon. So for console gamers it's still not a viable choice. I think that if they want to attract console gamers, they should at least bring out a cheap model that supports 8GB of RAM so it could run every game. The only thing I would like to say about the links he posted is that I was quite surprised by one of the articles, the GameSpot article about the Alienware Alpha, because the games that run on the Alienware Alpha looks pretty much comparable to the PS4 and Xbox One versions. And to my surprise, Watch Dogs actually runs on the system. And at the time I wrote this script, I didn't even know that. But when I completed the script, a Steam user by the name of Ubu Elmapool said that the requirements were based on a Windows operating machine, and that the Steam machine doesn't use Windows, so the requirements are different. But Frank did mention that more demanding games requires 8GB of RAM, so I still stand by my point that console gamers are way better off buying a Xbox One or PS4. So did my opinion about the Steam machines change? Kinda. I think it's a viable option for PC gamers who are looking for a pre-built system, but I still stand by my point that this console isn't for console gamers. Do I still think the Steam machine will fail? Yes. Because there is nothing to be had for console gamers here, and the Steam machine is a viable option for PC gamers if you are planning on replacing your PC and if you want a pre-built PC. Otherwise, there is no point in getting one. So if you don't match these criteria, the Steam machine is not for you. And if you already have a gaming PC at home and you want to hook something up to your TV and play games on your TV, you're way better off with the Steam Link. It's way cheaper. And besides that, the Steam machine is basically marketed as a console. So I think there will be a lot of PC gamers out there who are looking for a pre-built console who will not even think about the Steam machines, because it is marketed as a console and they don't want a console, they're looking for a PC. So I think Steam should also make clear that the Steam machine could be used as a normal PC, instead of marketing it as a console. So that's basically all I had to say about this topic. I wanted to thank Frank, Thunder and Ubu Elmapool for leaving their comments, and I want to thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned because there's a really crazy story coming up somewhere this afternoon or evening. So I hope to see you guys during the next video. Goodbye everyone.
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo